Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Today, we are so lucky. We are here with Christopher Hallenbeck from Boomi. We will talk about integration, automation, agents, and all those cutting edge use cases to help the IT function, the CIO, but also any CEO and C leader in the company. Chris, how are you?
Fantastic, Pascal. Thank you so much for having me. Really looking forward to the conversation.
Yeah, same here. So, Chris, to start with, can you tell us more about you, about Boomi, and what you've been doing?
Yeah, by title, I'm the general manager of AI and platform at Boomi.
Yes.
But really that means looking at the vision from a platform perspective, which we can talk about why I don't really see the platform in AI as being different, to be honest. I think, and many people say, I don't get that, but we can talk about that and how we move that forward. The reason why I do this, I've done two AI startups earlier in my career, both quite successful. Went on working with Google Cloud and SAP, both within their areas of analytics and AI and driving those
Hmm.
forward. And for the last 3 years, I've worked with CIOs on their overall AI strategies and what they're doing on their data strategy to kind of move into this agentic future. And
Excellent.
that's kind of why
So it's
Boomi.
a natural continuation in helping the CIO and C-level agenda for new technologies.
Absolutely. And there was a hole there. There's been a real problem. You'd even draw it out when you're doing the kind of classical enterprise architecture, you're distilling it down to a placement. And there'd be a box where you're like, kind of no vendor could solve it, to be honest. And it was like, you need to solve this problem of the broken digital thread that is inhibiting your ability to actually have end-to-end processes that work, not just integration, but actually the correct data to do things like AI and have proper answers. And there was a hole because nobody's doing that well. And then when I saw what was happening with Boomi and Steve called and said, "Hey, would you work on this?" I was like, "I get this. You don't even need to explain this to me. I want to be a part of that."
Excellent, excellent. So, uh, where would you say Boomi is currently? Where is it coming from, and what is the vision maybe for the future?
Yeah. Boomi started off, and if anyone knows Boomi, they're gonna, hey, you guys are the guys who are top right corner in the kind of Gartner iPass, and that's everyone is like iPass, iPass, and yes, absolutely, kind of cutting edge in that area, and deserve it of the ranking, but so much more than that. Over the last several years, the vision was it's going to be so much more than just integration. You can't just look at integration. I get back to the digital thread. How do I look at data management? And data management, we've always considered as something in an application like master data management, which has not caught on, even though a lot of us love it, but it's just too much will. But really, and then they think about the kind of what if layer and getting into the data warehouse. But there's a digital thread that needs to drive through of clean data that goes from application to application, and the data is openly shared in a high quality fashion in the form it's needed in order to do things like adopt AI, to do proper supply chain planning, to do proper decision making and planning, to be data driven. And this is only, and with traditional artificial intelligence, machine learning, it was needed. Agentic just makes this so much more. It's garbage in,
Yes,
garbage out, and that data needs to be able to move real time. And
yes.
Boomi walked right into that. So Boomi has this complete platform now of not only iPaaS, then they had good API management, now realizing that's what is the interface to everything out there, and then built out a complete control plane for API management with some application or with some acquisitions that are fully integrated now to have complete management, whether it's from third parties, but I can have common control and deal with the API sprawl, all the data management complete pieces and data movement, but now all AI enabled all throughout the entire platform.
Excellent, excellent. So that answers my first question in a way. So you've emphasized the shift from API to agents.
Absolutely.
How does this redefine the enterprise integration?
I could go everywhere. We could get goes deep on
Yes, yes.
MCP, which maybe we will later, but
Or maybe we can start
it's
with
going to be evolved.
one simpler question. What is agentic AI for Boomi?
When I think about it, it is autonomous and semi-autonomous. I would say I like to call them like simple applications because they're very task-oriented,
Yes.
defined by a goal
Hmm.
that have context, contextual information, capable of reasoning to then make an informed choice that is either in the digital or in the physical world. And that is how I would say agentic is.
Yes.
And if
Okay.
you break that down, I can have an agent. I could set one. I mean, we could do a simple, hey, I want to buy that product. If it went down to this price from one of these sites that I really like and the manufacturers, watch those prices and please go ahead and buy that if it's from one of
Mm.
those guys at that time. I take
Yes.
care of it and it tracks those web services
Mm.
from those companies. And when ready, it does the purchase on my behalf. In the corporate setting, I could do the same thing listening to things like commodity prices, but now it's watching actually my inventory levels. It's looking at my actual demand plan and other things. And at the right times, that agent makes a decision to make a purchase.
Excellent. Yeah,
Or you
great.
can get into ones that are semi-autonomous, where it's called within a workflow or by a
Hmm.
human. And then it executes. But then it does do reasoning and it thinks and it considers and then it makes the decision and then it moves on to the next step in the process. And then I think there's the huge ones which we're starting to get to, which is
Hmm.
it's cutting edge. We have the ones where I used to bring in like a huge team from like my former employer, McKinsey, where we bring in a team of like 6 people for 3 or 4 months, and we would do a snapshot of a problem like margin leakage. And it was fantastic with lots of recommendations. Imagine having an agent that is tracking all those systems that McKinsey analyzed, but doing that 24 hours a day. And every time there's a leakage, kicking off the integration, the workflow, or the email to the human to address that issue on an ongoing basis. Absolutely brilliant. And you can do that now with agents.
I love it. I love it. And thanks, thanks. Those are really great examples, very, very clear examples. Everybody's talking about agents currently.
Yeah.
Every tech company, I would say, is releasing some form of agentic systems. How is Boomi different from all those other tech companies?
Oh, yeah. Very much so. Number one is just when we look at it, we're not trying to sell you our agents. We actually allow you to use LLMs from anybody.
Okay.
So we're stepping back and saying, no one knows, you know, today it's Anthropic. They just came out with 4.0, and then there's going to be OpenAI and Gemini,
Mm.
right? And yet on the side of the that's happening in the heavyweight ring. Yet actually what's happening on the side is you have these brilliant industry and line of business specific models that are coming out. And often I don't need a heavyweight model. I need an incredibly lightweight model that costs a ton less. It's very fast and it can solve a particular problem at a fraction of the cost in the electricity and the impact environmentally. I can have all of that. So I want to be able to use the agent I want at the right time. And as a
Mhm.
better one comes out, I want to be able to take that out and move another one in. So number one,
It's about
that is where we
combining
fit.
combining the best of best of breeds, I would say, huh?
Yeah,
Into the same.
absolutely.
Yeah. So
Which is
being able.
why
Yeah.
we tie into Bedrock, why we're tying into a bunch of others. You can register third parties. We're about to make some announcements of other ones. Now you can build in Boomi, and we now allow you to build an agent, but if you built it elsewhere, you just bring it in. Our builders almost, even though people say it's 65% faster to build an agent in Boomi than any other product, and it's very effective and I can do that no code. If you prefer something else or you built this incredible agent in another system, use that. I think the other thing that makes us different is our understanding of how do we deal with these operationally. So I get back to API and sprawl. How are you going to manage the hundreds and then thousands of agents? And particularly when they're not just doing simple things like cool stuff on a knowledge base, where in those cases, an auditor didn't care. If I do the example I did about purchasing, an auditor really cares. Or I start doing things like manual journal entry reconciliation, and I start actually doing things like I said, purchasing or an HR. All these components. Now all of a sudden, I need audit logs, and the EU has just come out with all their on that. I need to know what was the data in the inputs that came into that agent. Was it fresh? Was it correct as to the policy? What were the security issues? What agent versioning was that? Who approved it? What was the reasoning and decision made by the agent, and what was its output, all put into an immutable log.
That is so
That is
important.
exactly. So
So that
now,
the observability, you will.
so we have the observability, the management. I
Okay.
can look at all the data, all the observability, the ability to kill an agent that's misbehaving, and then all of that with the audit trails required by auditors so that I can do these things in regulatory workflows. And that
Excellent.
is the other area where Boomi looks.
Excellent.
Um,
So the first one was integration. You can integrate with any LLMs, any tools within Boomi and do a
yeah, I'd say we're
custom agents
Switzerland.
for
We're
and
like
benefit from the best,
no
on the
walled
market.
gardens.
Yes.
Boomi has no walled gardens.
Yes. The second is observability and guardrails, the capacity to be able to
Also,
track,
absolutely.
audit what those agents are doing, not only to audit them, but also I'm sure to improve them as well, to find ways to
Oh,
improve them.
completely.
And yeah.
Yeah. And I think about that. If you think about what an agent is, right? In not what it is in the definition I gave, but at the end of the day, a agent with nothing, it's potential energy with like nothing. It's like a rock at sea level. But you then want to fill it with information from the company. You're like, all right, what is the context? What is the history of this customer? How important are they? Maybe I need to know what they've purchased. Maybe I need to know what are all the calls and support issues that have been going on. Maybe they had earlier conversations on these issues. We talk about these as history, but how do I bring all that context into its awareness, into its reasoning? Now I've created complete high potential energy. Fantastic. But I still, what I need is kinetic energy. What I need to do is release that as motion, heat, light. I can do that. That requires taking that agent and putting it in an integration, into an automation, into an application with it where a human can access it via an AI, or excuse me, into a UI. Boomi has all of that. So as an iPaaS, as a company with API management, as a company with a no low code app building interface, I have all the components. I can feed the data in through our API management, through our new support of MCP. I can bring it in through data pipelines, events, all these things we support. So, and that's all going into the audit logs, but I have everything I need. So the tools required to create the potential energy and then the integration, the automation, and the UI to unleash that is kinetic. And that's all in the Boomi platform. And that's why so exciting to be here. We're kind of at the
Yes.
right, with the right product at the right time.
Love it, love it. So yeah, and I would say so the third component of what really you bring as a difference is the end-to-end management from data to outcome, I would say, or to impact,
Exactly.
throughout all that you said with data management, capacity to bring the agents into the processes where they actually bring the impact, and we talked about observability and so on.
Yes.
Excellent. I've read that you've already implemented more than 30,000 AI agents across companies.
We do.
Yeah,
And
can you tell
so,
us about
and
the
it's a
use
tricky
cases?
word. It's actually over 33,000, which is completely valid because we ratcheted up and I always have to check and see what the current number is. Part of that is, yes, we're building agents, but we just replaced our first full GA. We've been in early adopter for a while, but now we're in full GA with Agent Studio and the platform. However,
What is full GA? Full?
sorry, general availability.
Okay,
So,
okay.
yeah, sorry, I get into
No,
product speak.
no.
The, but on the other side, so we have Boomi as a platform was how we had AI going back almost 10 years ago, but about 2 years ago, they started to drive using actually agent technology that we were building directly into the platform to make it easier to use.
Hmm.
By far the most, and so customers can activate agents in their platform to solve problems, which is where a majority of those 33,000 comes from. Those come from Boomi Scribe, which auto documents out all of your APIs, your integrations, both at a business level and technical, and does it with 80% less time.
Okay.
And so hugely popular. We
Yes.
also have one which is
So
a
this
design.
identifies the different connections you have within your
Yeah.
network or IT network, I would say, huh? Yeah, is it?
Exactly.
It
And
tells you,
all
yeah,
this
that's
stuff.
very,
Yeah. And so it's very specific and technical. And
yes.
interestingly, we can point another AI at the def documentation, for instance, and it can directly then create a YAML file that will then speak to that. So, very precise, which is a little scary when you think
So
about
that's
AI
great
generated.
for auditing, for identifying
Yeah.
the potential weaknesses.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Yeah. And we have our design gen agent. We actually pull on the 300 million integrations that have been built in Boomi. We anonymize that data, and that actually has an agent that looks at your situation. If I'm connecting, I don't know, maybe I'm doing Shopify to my Net Dynamics, and I go in and it's a unique situation, it'll look at my unique landscape and needs, but knows those two connections, draws on the 300 million patterns we have in our system, and makes recommendations on how to build that. It'll actually auto-generate it.
Auto-generate applications, you mean?
No,
Or
no, the integration.
the integration? Okay, okay. So that
Yeah, yeah.
the
We can also
APIs, you
do the
mean? Huh?
same
The
thing with,
APIs. You're talking
and
about
we can
the API.
generate
Yeah.
APIs. So
Mhm.
we auto-generate APIs. I can
Okay.
actually manage pipelines.
Which is a
So
great advantage because from my experience of building agents,
yeah,
those I mean building those APIs are really a pain, really a pain.
exactly. So
So
that
so you have a kind of an engine that helps to auto-generate what every all the information we need when we create an API, which is what is the information coming in, coming out, what are the limit rates, limit, I mean like all those components
Yes,
by default, and then you can of course fine tune it if you need.
that's exactly it. So all of that is built in. So people use AI to make Boomi more effective. That's where the largest portion of the 33,000. We also use it extensively internally. We now have all our salespeople are using it throughout to generate their sales assets and make even your brand new sales reps, be honest, your bottom 5% at that moment. They're doing things like the top 5%. It kind of makes them superhuman because it listens to the calls using Gong. It automatically transcribes, summarizes. They can make modifications. It figures things out, makes it completely beautiful, and sends back proposals. We use it in several. It auto generates our demonstrations and our call scripts for demos. When we do that, we use it.
Love
We
it.
have
Is it a built, I mean like a pre-built type of agent that companies can use?
Yeah, so we have two things. I can go into Agent Studio, and this gets, I always have to explain this. We use AI to create our AI agents.
Love it.
So you define your goal in natural language, and it automatically starts to fill out the likely tasks. It knows all your APIs and your data flows and everything, because if you built those in Boomi, it auto selects the tools that are going to feed those tasks, and then I can change those and adjust them. I set my guardrails. We of course have a whole set that we do automatically, but then you can, and making sure there's no malicious injections, and we have all the protections, so you don't have to worry about that. You can add guardrails, and then you generate out the agent automatically. We also have a marketplace, and in the marketplace, partners have been adding in agents. We have hundreds of agents that are very business process specific that have been certified by us, and we checked the quality of those throughout. So everyone has to go through a validation process. So it's not just tens of thousands of agents that just people have done. These are actually business specific certified agents that are pre-built, and those don't cost you anything. You can just actually use those. So
Nice, nice, nice. And I
yeah,
really like the one that you were just talking about, which is the support for salespeople, listening to whatever conversations they have with their clients, organizing their schedules, preparing quotes and scope of works. I mean, like I can imagine
yeah, no,
great value.
our expense reports are now automatically done by an agent. We have we use it throughout, and finance is now using it. Our sales support team, obviously, taking in the history of all the resolved calls and how those work, and we're using that internally. That's reduced the time to solve a problem for our customers by I think over like 78%. Yeah, so we use
Wow.
AI everywhere throughout the company and our own. So we use our own product. We drink our own champagne, as they say.
Exactly. Okay, excellent. Important question. Are those agents, do you need technical skills to build those agents, or are they in a low code, no code type of environment?
I'm completely no code, low code. Would that
Okay.
mean that there's any agent you can build without doing that? There's a moment or two where maybe you need a skill. If I'm
Okay.
creating a unique tool and that requires, because I have it's in an integration and I have to pass that off as structured JSON, it's not that hard. I just cut and paste that in and I drop it into the
Yes.
statement. But I may not be comfortable if I'm more on a business person. But outside of that, I would say, like, 95% of the time, you need to have no knowledge of AI. I just define the goal. I can go through, give it the reasoning and say, yeah, these are the different things I would look at, the different tasks. And here's your sub instructions that I would look at.
Hmm.
Link the tools to say, oh, yeah, if you're checking prices for shipping, here's, we use FedEx, we use US Postal Service, we use that. Here are the tools for connecting to those web services as predefined pieces, and then you're done. You hit generate and go. And then I just go to my integration and I drag and drop it in place. That's it.
Excellent. I
And
find
all
it,
the wiring is done for you. And
wow.
all of that is caught and trapped and automatically logged within the observability system that's designed. So yeah, it's pretty super.
Excellent. Very complete, very exhaustive. The
It is.
and so I've always found it so important to have those availability for those systems to be low code, no code, so that more people in the companies can use them, build their own agent, and see the
Exactly.
impact on their own work. And for me, that's the best change management that you can think about because people see actually the outcome and they buy it. The buy-in is automated, I would say. When
I completely agree. I also look, if I'm a CIO and I'm buying and I'm having to make a decision, I can have all these one-off bespoke platforms. I'm not going to get up to a very high number. And all of a sudden I'm going to have a sprawl problem, all built with different products, sending in events, data pipelines are coming in, everyone's done them slightly differently. I've got APIs from different vendors. That's just a mess. And then I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to do something, like I said, within a process that is governed, that I have to worry about, that has regulatory control. Like, ugh.
Mm,
Whereas if I'm dealing with, so if I can have this out of the box, simple platform that does everything and automatically is going to handle that, but I also, especially, I want that done close to the business. I don't want that done in the bowels of someone coding in a deep level language that doesn't understand the business problem so well. I want
yes.
it as close to the business, maybe in the business team, but if not, I want it in the product team by somebody who works with the business constantly, half their time, and they're working on that agent. And the brilliance of that is if it's not perfect, they can open it up. It's no low code. I can literally see the language. We can adjust the language, and we have a complete debugging mode where I can just go in, type in prompts, even if it's an integration. I can type in prompts, I can see the inputs, the outputs, I can do a full trace, understand, tweak it, and then move the new version into production. But you want that close to the business. Now, also, I don't need a special COE anymore. I don't need this center of excellence that's doing all this deep level coding and all that work. I can have the people who understand the business on that team, existing engineers, existing product managers doing the work. And when you speak to a CIO, they're like, oh my God, that's exactly what I need, because now I'm going to have business impact. Now I know
Excellent.
I'm going to have business
Yes.
impact.
The closer to the business, the higher the impact.
Always,
Yes.
always.
Love it. Love it. Um, you you talked about the MCP, the model context protocol that is currently enhancing the interactions between the agents and their tools. Um, can you tell us a bit more about how you've managed that at Boomi and how,
Well, we are aggressively adopting the standards, right? So MCP came out. For those of you guys who are like, don't track this 24 hours a day, like Pascal and myself, MCP allows you to take the different tools that would feed data into an agent, like APIs, like a file system, like a data pipeline. And not only can I expose it without having to know that unique language and the schema of that system, I can actually describe that in natural language, what that service is. So the LLM can then read that and then take advantage of the tool. So it's an accelerator. So you actually have two prompts here. One, how do I make that easy, drag and drop back in the environment of building the agent and doing that? Okay.
Mhm.
Obviously, we've done that. But the other side of that too is because we do the APIM management, the APIM on the API side to help people create their MCP servers.
Nice.
But you think about that because, as we all know, in Anthropic, who designed the protocol, is the first one to say this is incomplete and there are security issues with it. Yet we can actually take that and allow you to use it today and use our technology of creating gateways and others similar to API, but doing MCP gateways. So we can actually solve the security issues that are still there and automatically build that in so that you can do and use MCP safely, but also to define and have a system that helps you define really powerful both tools and those language descriptions so that the LLMs reading that, the agents, are more effective. Because how you write things actually really affects how well the agent solves your problem. And we can help do that in the system. So we're building it throughout the product, not only helping you define your MCP servers and doing that in a highly secure, governed way, which is not in the whole right now in the specification, and then also on the AI side and making it super easy to use those tools when they're not when you want to use them.
Excellent. I read as well that you worked in collaboration with AWS.
Huge amount, yes.
Yes. Can you tell us about what are the advantages that you can bring to your clients thanks to this collaboration?
Yeah, so several things. AWS we really enjoy because they've not taken the walled garden approach where they're trying to trap you in and trap you into their models and into their tool set. They've taken a very open approach, which works really well with Boomi's approach as well, allowing clients to innovate. And so Bedrock, their system for AI agents and support of LLMs is outstanding. So I can directly tie into Bedrock, register it, register my agents, use them in the Boomi platform, and they've actually, their engineers worked really closely with ours to develop the API specification to give you all the detailed information you need on observability and have it available on the Boomi platform. Number one. Then you get into their Q platform, which is allowing companies to begin to develop out memories. Because we talk about the context at the beginning of the call about the history of the customer and what they've purchased and all those details you want to have. That data can be very slow to get or difficult to get. And then it also has to be put into the format to be digestible by the agent. And so people are realizing we're going to have sort of interim holding places for that. And AWS has done an amazing job building out those components. And we're only one of 5 vendors that have been actually given access directly into there and passed all the security certifications to be able to access those information and bring those memories into our agents. As a matter of fact, we're the only company of our type that builds platform that has the rights to the AWS platform to do that. And
Okay.
so it's tight both technically and at a business level. So yeah,
So
we're very
again, here
excited, and
yeah,
we have a lot of things coming down the pipe, so to speak, that
you're bringing the
we'll get to
best.
announce as
Ah,
well.
you're bringing the best of the ecosystem together, and
Yes, absolutely.
again here, yeah, excellent. Um, for the people, the leaders watching us and currently thinking of how they can build agents, how they can benefit from automations and integrations that Boomi can bring to them. What do you think are the steps they should take and the critical success factors to be successful with this
Yeah.
transformation?
I give you two. There's that one set of, I'd say, the numbers are between kind of 10 and 15% of people. They've been doing agentic. They have well over 100 agents in use. They've already discovered that sprawl is going to be a problem and governance and observability is already a problem. So then we don't have to explain to it. They're like, finally, somebody has a platform.
Yes.
Then you have the other 85%. And they only, agentic for agentic sense, that was last year. They're trying to find out how do I drive real business value. And so how do I look at the business use cases that can actually work with the business leaders in a line of business to be successful? Because you can only move as fast as the trust is built. And a lot of them,
Yes.
to be honest, aren't so trusting of these non-deterministic agents. And so to say, hey, here's a series of them, not high value capture on the first one, but it'll build trust with your team. And then I can move up and move into increasing levels of automation, higher
Mm.
value capture, higher trust. Boomi platform makes that very, very easy to do. And and also to know that you're protected. So as a better model comes available, I just drag and drop that one in and I can switch. And the rest of all the wiring, all the observability is maintained. It's just a new version of that agent. And that gives the business leaders the comfort that they're covered from a regulatory perspective. And that's also why they like Boomi. But it also allows, I can move as fast as trust is built. So I'd say innovation at the speed of trust,
Uh-huh.
because people are concerned about risk on the business side, even if the technology is not, tech side is not.
Definitely. So the human adoption of those technologies is the key driver to the impact,
Yeah,
the scale,
absolutely.
to the scale and speed of the impact,
Yeah,
basically.
technology is not the problem right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's how we embed it into the organization, the current processes, and being used and trusted by people. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think the Boomi platform really enables IT to work with the business to gain confidence too, because they're also helping build the agent. They can see it and they're like, okay, I get it. It's a goal and there's the output. Okay.
Mm.
In my process.
Excellent. If I'm a leader, I'm listening to you. I love what you talked about and the comprehensive view that you take around this. What are the steps to take to implement it? I mean, like, should I start with a specific use case?
Norm,
What would you recommend? What have you seen as the recipe that works?
Yeah, there's two recipes that work. Number one, if you are already working with a consultancy and they've already designed out and gone in with a line of business and you've defined out what your use cases are, but you're already finding out that your data quality isn't where it needs to be in order to do this, and you're looking at all the technical complexity, Boomi actually can solve that as well because we have the data platform. We use AI to actually fix the data quality as it's being loaded.
That is so important because
Oh,
that's a
no, I know.
big
I
challenge.
probably should have
That's
mentioned
a
it earlier,
No,
but
no, no, but
good
that's a
thought.
big challenge that a lot of
Oh,
companies are facing. Data quality issue, data consistency, and so on.
absolutely.
And
Yeah,
yeah,
and the Boomi platform fully solves that problem. So
and
within
the
that,
look and the current systems, which are disconnected
yeah,
or old sometimes. Yeah.
yeah. So we can go in and help solve those problems within an area. The other one, if you're not their point and you're like, look, we don't actually have the use cases right now, or by a line of business or others, we can actually do a workshop. And we offer, and we do, we bring in a team for actually with a facilitator. We bring in technical resources. We do a workshop with your team throughout the end of the day to educate you on all the different components and on agentic. And then we work through the different use cases with your team to come up with them for your business, as well as then to sort of come up with a measure of what that impact would be. And then we work with you to build a few of those so that we can prove the platform and everything it does to you so you can get the comfort you need before you then go in and say, okay, yeah, this is the platform of choice for us going forward. So we kind of have these two different approaches, I think, that work well.
Excellent. Last question. I've seen you've recently acquired through a file transfer capability company. What does it mean for the future of Boomi and yeah, more broadly, maybe what is the vision for the future of Boomi?
Yeah. So for those who don't know, so doing managed file transfer. And as you get into it, and although some people say, doesn't that sounds old and we're using SFTP, but
Yes.
it's still done a lot. It's just as the same way that Boomi is the leading platform for supporting EDI. Yet, if you talk with people that are in fashion and retail and all these components, they'll tell you they have still logistics, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of customers doing EDI, and they're signing up new ones constantly because that is the sort of lingua franca. Many
Yes.
people file transfer as well. So Boomi is about having a complete platform to solve all of these types of problems, not inside to connect your company, but also to do that from the outside with to design out those APIs that work with your suppliers and your customers, which will now be MCP enabled, but then also for the data coming in and the processing of that using things like MCP. So it's not only just doing about agentic, it's about having that complete platform of trust that you can use to interconnect all your applications internally and with your broader ecosystem.
Nice, nice. What is the vision? What is the next? What do you think will be the next
Oh.
steps for Boomi?
Um, I think as we move forward, like on the agentic side, we've already announced a lot of the work we're doing within memories
Okay.
and
Oh,
advancing
nice.
the platform within master data management and actually auto bringing in all the data quality algorithms and others. You can do this today by building agents, but really making it more out of the box.
Hmm.
And making memories easier to use because
Yeah, I think
a lot of
memory
people
is
know
a
how to do that, and you get into
exactly.
some contact. End users do not want to know what a context window is, but so we deal with that for you.
Yes. But
To
memory, I agree with you, is a big weakness that we have today on the market and a big opportunity because you create better
exactly,
connection with users. Yeah, you can learn. I mean, the feedback loops and the capacity for
exactly
the
learning,
agent
but
to learn and
also
improve themselves is critical.
as we kind of move from digital transformation, which was super, and I really think we're moving into agentic transformation now, but it doesn't mean that the issues from digital aren't are gone. I still want to have the same amazing experience no matter whether it's multi-channel. And if that also means agentic, so that I'm in one channel on my mobile phone, and then all of a sudden I phone or I do this, I want it to remember I had a conversation, I was doing this with that. And so the agent has to be able to switch context with me, which means it has memories of how I
Yes.
was doing that.
Yeah.
And it's more than short term, less than long term, but how do you deal with all of that?
Yes. The
And still have a
continuity.
great experience, which
Yeah.
is a technical challenge. So you asked about Boomi. We're working on those are kind of short term and bringing those out. I think too, as companies are really beginning to as they start to replace certain processes with agents. I mentioned at Boomi that we're doing so many things in sales, not really using a CRM. The CRM stores the outcome, but we're actually using agents to do huge process steps now. I think, and people are saying in 5 years, many applications may even be replaced by no code, low code applications running and that are also working with Gen AI, and all of the integrations are just literally automated underneath that and orchestrated in an automated fashion. And so we're paying very close attention there and making our own technical moves to make sure that we're ready for that future.
Excellent. Very, very inspiring. Thank you very much, Christopher. That was a wonderful discussion. A lot of very hands-on insights and great platform. Very complete end-to-end from low code to guardrails to observability. We have everything in the same. Lovely. Thank you,
Thank you,
Christopher.
Pascal. Thoroughly enjoyed the conversation, and thank you for having me on.
Thank you. See you soon.
Bye bye.